Let me tell you one of the most underrated secrets behind one of the greatest careers in recent National Football League history. Drew Brees played 20 seasons as a professional, something practically impossible for a quarterback, and one of the least discussed reasons for all that longevity showed up in the final 5 years of his career, coming from the most improbable place you can imagine. That relief did not come from a better offensive line, nor from a more protective system. It came from a second quarterback, an undrafted free agent out of BYU who became one of the most unpredictable weapons in football and earned a perfect nickname, the human Swiss Army knife. And now, hold on to this information, because a respected analyst has just seen that exact same profile inside the current Philadelphia Eagles roster. In this video, I am going to explain who this rookie is, why the comparison to one of the most unique pieces in the league is not an exaggeration, and why this bet could at the same time protect Jalen Hurts and never get off the ground. If you are a die-hard Eagles fan, hit that like button and subscribe right now, because stories about a player hidden at the end of the draft are exactly the ones nobody notices in July, and everybody talks about when they break out. Here is the deal. Let us first understand the model that created this comparison, because it explains everything. That undrafted free agent out of BYU was named Taysom Hill, and in the offense run by head coach Sean Payton in New Orleans, he became a walking problem for opposing defenses. Hill kept teams completely off balance across Brees' final 4 seasons, thanks to a huge range of abilities. He ran, he passed, he caught, he blocked, he played on special teams, and it was no coincidence that this was precisely an elite stretch for the Saints. The team piled up 49 wins against just 15 losses and captured 4 consecutive South Division titles in the National Football Conference. Keep that picture in your head, because that is exactly the mold being placed over an Eagles player. And if you think the Swiss Army knife nickname is just a figure of speech, the numbers prove otherwise. Taysom Hill became the first player in the Super Bowl era to reach the 1,000-yard mark in 3 completely different disciplines: 1,000 yards passing, 1,000 yards rushing, and 1,000 yards receiving. Think about how big that is. This is a player who officially shows up as a tight end in many statistics, but who takes the snap as a quarterback, runs like a running back, and still catches passes as a receiver. Over his career, Hill piled up 11 passing touchdowns, 33 rushing touchdowns, and 11 receiving touchdowns. He did absolutely everything, and that is why opposing defenses never knew what to expect when he stepped onto the field. That is the gold standard of versatility being suggested for the Eagles rookie. And that player's name is Cole Payton. Brooks Kubena, of the respected The Athletic, was the one who saw that rare combination of size and athleticism reborn in the Eagles rookie. According to Kubena, writing on July 24th, Payton is a left-hander with direct comparisons to Taysom Hill. And he went further. While the Eagles decide what to do with Tanner McKee, who is battling Andy Dalton for the second quarterback spot, the team is going to use the entire training camp to figure out whether there is any future role for such a distinctive athlete like Payton. In other words, this is not just fans speculating. This is analysis from people who study the game in depth. Now let us get to know the real player, because his path is a very curious one. Payton stands 6 feet 3 inches tall and weighs 232 pounds, a size that resembles a big running back far more than a traditional quarterback. He was born in Omaha, in the state of Nebraska, and played for North Dakota State in college, the same quarterback factory that has already delivered Carson Wentz and Trey Lance to the league. But here lies the most surprising detail of the story. For 4 entire seasons, Payton was a rarely used backup. He spent years on the bench, being deployed only in short yardage and goal line situations, where he managed to score 13 rushing touchdowns in the 2023 season, even without being a starter. And here is what makes this interesting. Even as a backup, he was already a winner. Payton won 2 national championships at the second division of college football, in 2021 and 2024, playing as a supporting piece. His chance to be a true starter only arrived in 2025, his final year in college. And when the opportunity finally knocked, he did not waste it. Payton led the Bison to a 12-1 record, completed 72% of his passes, threw for 2,719 yards, with 16 touchdowns through the air against just 4 interceptions, and also ran for 777 yards and 13 touchdowns on the ground. As a runner, he finished his college career with more rush attempts than pass attempts. Think about that. A quarterback who ran more often than he threw. It was that dual threat that made the Eagles spend a 5th-round pick on him, the 178th of the 2026 draft. And there is a curious historical detail here. Exactly 10 years after selecting Carson Wentz as the second overall pick of the draft, the Eagles once again bet on a quarterback out of North Dakota State. And the praise for Peyton was not small. He stood out at the Senior Bowl even while being just a few weeks removed from surgery on the thumb of his throwing hand, which already says a lot about the young man's resilience. At his pro day, a former National Football League quarterback named Jake Heaps wrote that Peyton put on a real show, that he ripped the ball beautifully, that he checked every box he needed to check, and he fired off a line that became a headline. One team is going to land a future franchise quarterback. A future franchise quarterback. About a fifth-round player out of the second division. But now, to be fair and transparent, it is essential to plant our feet on the ground, because not everything in this story is optimism, and the counterpoints here are heavy. First, not everyone has that faith in Peyton's future on the Eagles roster. Alex Kay, of Bleacher Report, put together realistic expectations for every rookie quarterback in the league and was quite direct. In his model, the best possible scenario for Peyton is to end up as the Eagles' third quarterback. And notice the cruel detail. That only happens if the team finally makes the long-awaited Tanner McKee trade, sending the veteran backup somewhere he might have a chance to start. Second, the roster math simply does not help. The Eagles used a fifth-round pick and, in doing so, overcrowded a quarterback room that already contained Jalen Hurts, Andy Dalton, and Tanner McKee. McKee has drawn interest around the league as a possible starter elsewhere, but until he leaves, Peyton's path to climbing the hierarchy is completely blocked. According to Kay himself, because of the talent stacked in that group, General Manager Howie Roseman even revealed that he may choose to keep 4 quarterbacks on the active roster in 2026 if McKee sticks around. That is a nod to Peyton's potential, but in practice it means that, as a rookie, he is nothing more than a fourth quarterback with 3 players ahead of him in line. Third, and maybe the most honest point of all, the distance between the potential and the reality of the league is enormous. Peyton attempted only 282 passes in his entire college career, all of them at the second division level. He was a starter for a single year. He is going to need polishing, time, patience. Some teams, in fact, even saw Peyton as a possible tight end conversion project before his final season in college. That is how atypical his physical profile is for the quarterback position. A comparison to Taysom Hill is exciting, but it is worth remembering that Hill himself took years to transform into what he became. It is not a switch that flips in the first training camp. And fourth, the Swiss Army knife role itself depends on a specific creativity from the coaching staff. It is not enough to have the athlete. You need an offensive coordinator willing to design exclusive plays for him, to gamble on special packages, to give up predictability in the name of unpredictability. With a new offensive coordinator in Sean Mannion, still a rookie in the role, and with a lot to prove, there is no guarantee that this kind of creative boldness will happen right away. The mold exists. The question is whether anyone will have the courage to use it. With a rookie of rare size and frightening athleticism, compared to one of the most unpredictable weapons the league has ever seen, but stuck behind 3 quarterbacks and dependent on a trade just to move up the hierarchy. Do you believe Cole Peyton becomes the new human Swiss Army knife in Philadelphia? Or do you think he is just another 5th-round project that Howie Roseman likes to collect and who will hardly ever see the field? And if you were Sean Mannion, would you create special plays for this guy? Or would you already be placing the piece for the future? Drop your take in the comments. Do not forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I will be back later to update you with the latest Eagles news.